Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of an experiment based upon what I observed in some of my previous videos. I made the Lotus 49B and it handled, relatively nice. It was the fastest one I'd made so far out of the Formula 1 cars. Then I made the Lotus 72 and it was really garbage. The difference? Really, I think, comes down to how I actually had the tires made. One of them, I expanded the size of the tire, and then narrowed it down graphically. And then the 72, I had the correct diameter, then I made it wider, and it was garbage. So what we're going to do today is I've got here the Brabus BT19. I've updated it for the new version of automation. I've got myself a rule here, and you can see we've got 145 wide tires, and that's about right. So we're going to go for 300 wide tires, because this is a 30 centimeter ruler. So this is the narrow version, and this is the tall version, just a complete clone, and we're going to start fiddling with these. So by narrow, I should define that means that this is going to be the one that has realistically narrow tires, and you can see here that I've made the walls flatter and the tread flatter to make it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. And then we're going to artificially widen them out to see if that does the trick. So wheel width. We're gonna get it until it's about right. And I think we have there about 300. Pretty good. Now, we're not going to do anything to the fronts because the only thing that we're going to be testing today is our traction with our Mohusive amount of wheel spin, which is 35% wheel spin. Maybe we could make that a little bit more, but we'll test to see how that goes later. And we're just going to see if they have the same amount of wheel spin to start with. So now that that's done, we get that and remove that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to measure the diameter of the tire and the wheel, just to make sure that the numbers are all correct, because never take anything for granted. And then at the top, we're at about 54 and a half. Here it's 55, it says. You know what? That's close enough. It's about 55. Now, let's do that to the other one. This one is called the tall version because what we're going to do is we're going to make our tires so big that we can actually just make the tires the width that we want them to be. As you can see there, our available width is now going up considerably. And, oh, we're at 305s now. Good, okay. Let's bring that down a little bit until right about there. Okay, 300's on the rear now. Let's just go ahead and double check that that is correct. That is lined up there and pretty darn close. Close enough that we're going to say that that is correct. Now, because we don't know the exact diameter of this wheel now, we're going to have to use this tape measure. And that says our wheel diameter currently is about 78 and a half. So yeah, we need to bring that down a lot. In fact, all the way down to here, 55 and a half. Well, approximately. How we do that is we go to rear tire, tire diameter, and start shrinking it. And I just realized that that also apparently moves the tape measure. Oh, look at that. We're almost right straight off the bat. And we're pretty dead on. Okay, so we have the same width, but done different ways. And we're gonna see now if they have the same traction or different. This will have a major effect on how I go ahead into the future to make the tires the correct width and all that kind of jazz. So to start off with, the first thing we're gonna check is to make sure that yes, these both do have the tire meshes be as wide as they actually need to be. So this is why I thought this wasn't going to be an issue, because they both look pretty much identical in the collision mesh. And if you don't know what I mean, let's go ahead, debug, and turn this car invisible, go to the other one, and make that invisible. Yeah, see that? Both pretty much identical. There may be like minor differences due to my using a tape measure in a game where that's not really efficient. That's, or accurate, that's what we're doing here. Now, the next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna cycle through to see the weight. 568 kilos. Is there any actual difference? 622 kilos. Okay, so having tall tires actually increases the weight. That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that that was going to be a thing. That is also considerably heavier. That's about 50-ish kilos. So keep that in mind, and that may bore our results a little bit by giving us more traction on the rear here. We shall see. Let's have a look at our unsprung weight. About 105 to about 200. And the other one is about, oh, that's actually considerably less to considerably less. That means that narrow is just lighter in every single way. So theoretically, already, this one is going to be an advantage. But what about ripping a Burnout? Well, let's bring it on down and see how much of a grip we've actually got. So the weight is lower, but we should still have a similar amount of grip. You know what, actually, that was really hard to tell. I think what we're gonna have to do is move it over to here to where there's no tire treads already, so I can actually get an accurate representation. And we're gonna start at this start line. Rev it up, and there's the end of the Burnout. Was that at the end of the gear? That might have been at the end of the gear. Give that a full first gear rip. Okay, we saw what happened. It ended right here. I'm instantly actually getting steering issues. So tall may not be the answer. Let's try to be careful with the steering. Oh, god damn it, the steering broke again. Okay, something is seriously jacked up here. Come on, steering, don't fail me now. Rev it up and give it a rip of a Burnout. I think we did a little bit better just then. It's a little hard to tell. We just lose grip altogether. Okay, so whilst fiddling around with things, I did happen to notice one thing. One, these tires were set to 100 on the tall tire, and it was making it really quite oversteery. And two, I noticed something else. So we've finally got this set up. This won't oversteer anymore. So we're gonna go into realistic control mode, first gear, and you'll just see how much of a Burnout it does. Much more controllable now. I think I actually stuffed that up. Let's try that again. So we're gonna go over our existing Burnout, and somewhere around there is where that tended to stop doing that. Now let's try this one, and a lot more wheel spin, and the wheel spin is going to keep going for a whole lot longer until about there. So the Burnout for this one would end about here, and the Burnout for this one would end about here. So there is a clear difference. For the Burnout itself, it seems that the tall but then shortened tires are a lot better. But check this out. We're gonna come up to this first chicane sort of looking thing here. We're gonna slow down, we're gonna turn in, and this is gonna be a fairly stable car. Lot of understeer, and I broke some steering. But you get the idea. It's not so bad at controlling. Let's get it off the line, very bogged downy. Come over this rise and moderate steering, you know, fairly stable. Not a lot of oversteer at all on this shortened down tire. Let's, however, try this one. Immediately, a lot more wheel spin, but that's to be expected. We've already proven that. Now we're coming up to the first chicane here. And a little bit of slip angle, and then just a lot of oversteer. A lot of oversteer. All right, let's try that again. As we're coming out of the gates, everything is all good. Oh God, okay, well that was uncontrollable. Okay, third time's a charm at getting it around here. Lockups, oh God, okay, lockups may be hurting us a little bit. So let's try our hardest not to lock up. We're gonna keep on moderate brakes, and we're gonna take it fairly easy, but look at that, just oversteer immediately. So I think that is a fairly damning sort of argument against narrow tires. So the meta is, if you're going to do this sort of stuff, make the tires you want to be wider than what can be possible for cross-plies or whatever sort of tread you want to do. Then what you do after you've made it the like height that is required for the width, go over to fixtures, go over to here, go into your tire thing, and then make the diameter the correct diameter. And for this one, it was 24. That's how you do it. That is the meta. Go forth and multiply? No, whatever. Just keep in mind that the car will be heavier, which is unfortunate. There's not a whole lot you can do there. That is the meta right now. Do not make narrow tires and then make them wider. It somehow doesn't translate. And I'm not entirely sure why. Interrupting your scheduled programming. I'm just alt-tabbing between the two, and you can just see that there is a few differences here with some of these numbers going around. Node weights are obviously different, but then you've got, oh, whoop, something happened. Anyway, yeah, you can see that these numbers are different where it kind of matters a little bit more with the friction load coefficient and stuff like that. Anyway, back to your regular programming. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering that they both have the same collision mesh. Oh God, please not! Oh, well, I may as well also spruik this mod body. It will be on the automations workshop for Steam, so you can go ahead and give it a try. You can make yourself some more cars. It's only slightly tweaked, but it's basically the same thing. I don't want to do body morphs on this one because there's not really a whole lot to this body, if we're being honest. Like, I mean, look at it. It's not really a lot to be done. Like, you can make the nose a little bit longer or shorter. You can make the rear lip maybe a little bit higher or shorter. But there's just not much here. There's not much to this body. Making it wider would almost be superfluous. Next time, I'll do something a little bit more longer form. But I hope you enjoyed this. For now, I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.